Hey there. I'm excited to introduce a new version of ScoreKeep. January 2018 is what I'm calling it. It's got new features compared with the last release back in November. We tested it at a couple meets this weekend and the previous weekend, and everything went really great. Friendship Classic database is what I'm going to show you what I've got here from. So we'll dive right in. You got a new meet, edit meet, and what we've got is a time stamp for each one of the matches. Yeah, I know some of you feel a little reluctant to use it, but I had a few requests over the years for adding some time elements to the different matches so that they could follow along. And I've seen a lot of people use it with effectiveness. It's just you got to realize, and they preface too, that this is guidelines. This is the goal. So hopefully everybody gets out of there a little bit earlier, or at the very least on time that we have planned. You have a match time travel, which we had set for 45 minutes. They had a maximum 35-minute time limit on each match, and that gave them 10 minutes to move around. And what you do is you just set the time, and it'll readjust accordingly. If we changed it to 30 minutes, it would readjust everything. If you want to start at 9 a.m., double click on the 8. It defaults to 9, by the way, and you change it to 9, and it'll readjust everything accordingly down. If you want to change the last match to be after lunch and you want to start lunch at 11:30, just go up there and change this one to 1 o'clock, and voila, it'll change it, and you can bump on down the road. We also added and I don't think I got this one in the previous version, but it was right about the same time I put it in. I had a coordinator that was doing two full round robins over three meets and wanted a way to be able to stretch it out. The old way didn't work so well, so what we added in here was a starting round. So when they start the second meet on round 5 of 12 or whatever, it would pick up on match 5 and carry them on down the road. Okay, and then you hit save meet, and it'll save off, and we'll go to the meets and reports. Just take a moment to load because it's doing generating the dash report. And if we scroll down, and we used it during the first meet there, and as you can see, you got time markers for each one, as well as down here. Excuse me. I don't have a new meeting selected, but we did use it there. We have a non-editable phrase, planned start time for each match. Just have to explain to each one of the teams that this is planned, that we're going to go with what happens based on the circumstances. Also, we had a score override, which I added. A score override which allows you to change the order of the listing due to playoffs, or in this case on the preliminaries, due to we were sorting by total points scored. So I reordered it and just click on the one and go down or up, and it'll move it appropriately and lock it into place. You can set the text to explain what the changes reflect. Hit set and go on. Clear will take you back to the previous uh, way it broke ties. Q report. Q reports, you got to have a meet. Let's go with, yep, it's selected the X ones there. It tells you, like the old program, it's got a few less features, but for the most part, it's got all the fundamentals. This is really good for coordinators and good for question writers who want to know some analysis on how well their questions were written. It tells you the first number is how many got it correct. The second number tells you how many got it wrong. And you got 10s are white, yellow is 20s, and green is 30s, and the lavender ones are where they got more wrong than right. And you can look at the question if you've got them loaded in there properly and see exactly who was the one that answered those questions wrong or right. It's really interesting facts, like I said, for a coordinator. One, for a coordinator to help determine whether the questions writer that he used was up to par, or if for a coordinator or for a question writer to determine whether his questions needed adjustments. Combined report, it allows you to take two meets and put them together. In this case, we got prelims and gold because that's what's X'd, and it'll put them together. And as you notice, The Utica here is got 16 rounds, and down here in Springfield they got 9. That's because they didn't quite get as many. One of the things that comes up with on the very prompt is, so we type in 16. That'll push everybody's for their averages to 16, and Springfield should drop significantly down here based on their average if they're 16 rounds. And that is for purposes of if you're wanting to do combined reports over the entire year, you want to give an advantage, at least some advantage in most cases, to those teams that showed up for every match. And if you have one team that showed up for one meet and they did really well because it was the first meet and everybody studied for it, you don't want them to outrank the ones that actually did the commitment to show up for all the meets. So this spreads out helps you get a better combined report. HTML is like it says, you click on it and it will bring up a report that will in a browser basically, as opposed to the current one, which is my screen, which is difficult to save in. Some of the teams were a little bit concerned that they weren't getting what they needed. Email. If you go into email, it will bring up the teams and whatever reports you have on the screen. In this case, the combined report. Choose the quiz or teams, and provided you have an email address sent in there, you click put in your subject matter, which subject matter by default is the database name and the message, and type it in and hit send, and it'll send a copy of this report with this email to those coaches. Okay, the other one is web links, and this is probably the biggest thing that at least I was excited about, and I used rather well, is the scoreboard. The scoreboard is what I'm calling, basically it gives you an interactive web page where you can actually see the status of every room in your match, provided the Wi-Fi is good, and you can see what question number they're on as they proceed through the questions. You just have to hit refresh a bunch of times. I'm working on trying to figure out how to make that go faster. But you select on one of the teams or one of the rooms, and then you go into the room and you can see what it is. This is the question number that they're on. The numbers up here is the number of 10s, number 20s, number 30s that are left, and the total points that they add up to. As you can see the total points for each one of your individual quizzers. Positive means how many they got right, negative means how many they got wrong, and you can help keep track of that. So hopefully coaches can keep track of it. At the very least, from what I found the coordinators have a very valuable, adds a lot of value to. If you've got some tech-friendly officials too, they like to see where they're at the end of the match, so they can see if they're ahead of the other group or what. So, and that's what we got there. And then on just one of the grins, you have to send them these links, by the way. ePost, which has not changed a whole lot, still the same. Still trying to figure out how to bring these two reports together. But you got the schedule, which you can send, like I said, via email now. And then for those that didn't know, the schedule is an interactive score sheet as well, which will show you the total points of each one of the. It gives you the dashboard view as far as what it's going to say is similar to this one, and that's pretty much it. See if I can get this to come up one more time before we close. Dashboard, come on, dashboard. Seems like everything's running slow. It's probably because I'm generating video. Anyway, the dashboard, it'll give you this link where they can actually see it. This is what's published on the schedule as well. Anyway, I hope you enjoy using it, and I hope you upgrade soon. Look forward to helping you guys out with anything you need. Just give me a holler if you need it. Larry Mullins at yahoo.com is probably the simplest address I've got. Got others, but that's the simple one. Thank you very much.